Isaac holds up the first newspaper to the assembled team. There's a fat stack of them on the white plastic table. He clears his voice. Special Branch Bomb Bungle. Throws away the sun, takes up another one. Violent explosion as police fumble bomb investigation. Blah 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 blah. Reforming as SO15 with a whole new playbook. At least 2 dead. Last mistake in Special Branch's sporty history, reads random quotes from one they open. Responsible officers not reachable at the time. Mr. Khan, that is me, promises sweeping reform with new SO15 initiative. But this is my favorite. He holds one up. Prejudice leads to explosively fatal Special Branch raid. Yeah, the logic is that because you did not identify any of the suspects in the train depot as being of Middle Eastern origin, you did not think they were a bombman and went in half-cocked. Fantastic journalism. In a week, the SO13-SO12 merger will be done. The National Domestic Extremism and Disorder Intelligence Units SO13 and 12 are now officially one unit. Removed from its sordid Special Branch past. Unfortunately, due to budget cuts and your bungled operation, you will not be hired as SO15 operatives. Instead, you will act as anti-extremist consultants during the construction of this refugee relocation center and the training of its personnel. Officially, you thus have sad news for your families when you get back this weekend. If anyone wants out, now is the time. And what I said will be true for you. And you never need to hear the word blankbody again. Anyone? He looks out of the room to the small group of gathered personnel. Shirley, Umalai Diku, Anna-Karin, and you. Dave Goldman has let us know that he will no longer take part in these operations. He finds the risk to be overwhelming. So, I'm afraid we have to do without our token American.
Very well. Well, I've been thinking a lot about this, and if it is from now on that I will take more of a command, sort of backseat role, then I'm happy with that. Maybe a little bit less time in the field.
Good. Anyone?
Let me just clarify. The official story is what exactly? What's happening to SCOM 15, SCOM 13, SCOM 12? What's
the official story is that SO13 is being mothballed and dismantled together with SO12, and they are being merged into SO15, a hyper-modern policing unit that is up to today's complex urban challenges, with more focus on dialogue and investigation rather than the strikes that the Special Branch have become famous for in their decades of work against domestic and foreign terrorism.
And what's actually happening?
In the eyes of Her Majesty, me and the One Maker, you are still SO13. This unit will stay operational until we have followed every line of infection. This unit will stay operational until we have followed every line of infection as far as we can and cut the head of the blankbody snake here in Great Britain. From this moment, you are truly the only unit that carries directly the proud legacy of the Special Branch, the true fiery boot of London's finest. That is what will happen in actuality. And yes, as you have concluded, Paul will take operational command. Ward will take the role of research lead. And Gabriel as special assets.
Yes.
I sigh.
That makes sense to me then. Yes, I shall be taking over research for the 13 unit. As for the rest of the world, yes, I suppose I'm just going to be going on a long sabbatical.
Yes, we have the possibility of using the cover story of your consultancy. It's not an unusual case that police officers are involved in the training of personnel of refugee detention centers these days because, as we know, they can be a breeding ground for extremist ideas. But that aside, I want us to savor the moment for a bit longer. Savor both the good and the bad, because with 2 confirmed blankbody kills and strong possible leads to more severely infected or their pawns, we must consider Operation Firebrand so far a resounding success. But with Nigel Harris dead and Andrea Osel severely injured, as well as landing us with a mess that will take Simon the better part of a month to deal with, victory may have seemed to have come at a very high price. I lost my own daughter a second time to these devils, and we have all at some point of these investigations lost ourselves. A high price, yes, but consider this. First light studies indicate that the blankbody menace is exceptionally rare. We believe that there are no more than 25 blankbodies in the Greater London area. And you just downed 2 out of 25. Let that sink in as I turn this over to Paul and his team. The word comes up on from high, but I, for once, resoundingly agree with Simon Newberg's approximation. It's too bad that for your operational command, we can only give you a raise in top secret invisible pounds. You, of course, know that in actuality, both promotions and pension is likely to be the result of this, whenever it ends, or whenever it can be spoken about, or whenever it can be reframed. Again, thank you. I'm sure that you have the thanks of Her Majesty, the people of the United Kingdom, and the press if they would ever know what you have done, but it's just started. Operation Firebrand is not over until every lead is exhausted. Take it away, Paul and Francis. We have teams to decide, assets to talk through, leads to talk about, and what actions we need to take now before the weekend. In 2 days, today is Thursday, it is 18:25, and you go on a mandatory leave for weekend to make sure that normalcy is adhered to tomorrow at 1600 hours. Go.
Very good, thank you, Isaac. I say, and I get up from my chair to stand on a crutch, or stand leaning on a crutch. We have a few existing leads, the few victories that we still retain after what happened. One of the big ones being the name Ducheski, and the strange connection between Michael and this individual, as well as the name being mentioned by the recently deceased Mr. Wilson. What do we currently know about Ducheski? We have a number.
Kitwara speaks up, looks at you with some trepidation. I was the one who received the number and made an anonymous phone call And there it should not be possible to be traced. The phone numbers went to Duchesky and Billingham, attorneys at law. That is what we know. I have not been had any of those calls returned.
Right. We do not know if that merely calling that number sets off anything as well, then.
We don't know, but there's been no interaction with any specific individual, so it's hard to know. The number was to a front desk at Billingham Attorneys at Law, so it seems unlikely that it would set anything off. If you want my analysis, Paul.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's it. I don't
That's it.
think
Okay,
that we
very good.
left any traces there.
Yeah. Okay,
What
good.
about our guest, the older gentleman? Has anyone begun interrogation yet, or has he simply been held
What
overnight?
He's held in, and let's see, Shirley goes up and looks at the yellow post-it note saying rest. I guess that's restrained. We don't have a name yet. He's been awake all day. He's basically staring at the peephole. That's it. Trying to look menacing, shutting up like a pro.
I look to Ellis and say, the individual that old man, the one who led us astray, while you were down
Oh, yeah.
engaging with Kenneth Wilson, I was able to determine that he is extremely knowledgeable about things, and possibly a stage 1. Hard to tell.
Yes, and these paintings then, the drawings from Michael's apartment, and any identification of the woman that was on them, or why they are connected to the name Duchesky?
We haven't really had time to start much of the data operations yet. I've set up the networks and I've set up the computers. I have 2 servers for code cracking right now. It's Umala Ideko who speaks. Her voice a bit strained, her makeup is on a bit crooked for the first time you ever see. The gold on her dark skin a little bit smeared, giving her a bit funnily lop-eyed expression. Funny because the rest of her is so clean, tight, neat. I believe that we just need an hour or 2, depending on what tasks you want. We have on our table as data retrieval and data analysis. I'm stepping in for Nigel. Not as good, I will never be, but I think we can reconstruct some. We have a couple of computer equipment from the CRE, burnt heavily. There's Michael's computer. The drawings. We have all of the work from the surveillance attempts. I have a ton of footage of dogs to look at, for instance. I do think that is it basically. Unless you want to run data searches on earlier cases or any of the deceased or anything like that. What would you like data to prioritize, Paul?
At this point, I think Michael's computer has proved a surprisingly valuable asset. The people that we've seen there moving together are undoubtedly carrying various stages of the infection, because we've seen Kenneth Wilson among them, and one possible picture I pointed a print out where the black dog, which is indicated as a black smear on this one, are all connected. If we can get ideas of the rest of these people and those associated with them, that I think could be a good lead. I think that would be priority. And then if we also connect someone to this drawing and Duchesky, that's good.
So identify the people on the surveillance photos that this Michael seems to have taken and stored on his laptop.
I believe so, yes, unless anyone else in the team has any...
and the drawings. I mean, they are kind of shite, to be honest, but yeah, I think that should be possible.
As a secondary observation, what do we actually even know about Kenneth Wilson? Obviously, they are now deceased, but we have a name, we know what they look like. Who were they? Who did they work for? What did they do in life?
Personal data. Yeah.
As you stated earlier, this is a very common name, and it's possible that it isn't a false identity.
Very,
but
very
now
likely.
we have not only a photo identification, but the ashes would still contain some trace of DNA.
Yes.
Yeah, not really data's table, but of course anything like that will assist identification. I'll poke up identification of Kenneth Wilson to tertiary.
Good. If we can recover any of the computers from the CRB, it would be of interest to see what contacts this potential porn business cover might have.
How do you rank that next to the Michael?
I would start with getting identification of the people in the photos.
Gotcha. It will be done.
As I'm listening and making notes, I do look over to Ellis, who I've noticed has been a bit quiet, and I just remark, Ellis, anything you want to add?
Nope. I am, yes, very quiet and kind of subdued, and looks like I don't really want to be here or is annoyed by something. But like, the mouth is like tightly closed and very, obviously very contained. I sit in my regular leather jacket and arms folded. Yeah, this is not a good day or night. Nope, I'm fine.
All right. Well, do let us know. You are still part of the investigation.
Yeah, sure.
I nod.
Yes, if I may speak to that, Isaac, Chris up again. Indeed, Ellis is still very much a part of our investigation, maybe one of the key members of this endeavor moving forward. We will give, if you need special advice, anything you need to talk about, talk to me or talk to Paul or properly talk to Francis about special dietary requirements and so forth. The Ellis, you have handled yourself admirably in the face of great temptation and pressure, and we assume that you will continue to acquit yourself as splendidly.
A shrug. Yeah, sure.
Good. Let's see. The other thing, you said Duchesky and Billingshurst? Was that it?
Billingham, I believe. Yep.
I make a note of this. And do we have a location of this firm?
Yeah, it looks like it has two offices. It's one in Mayfair and one in the city.
Right. Is there something we could do with that? Could we send someone or to talk to them? Could we bring someone in if we don't get anyone on the phone? I suppose the easiest way would be to go and knock on doors.
Potentially. Shirley looks around. It's like there's not a lot of us before we get reinforcements next week,
Yeah. I suppose that will have to come further down. We've got data covered. We got lab. What priorities would you like to take in the lab, Ward?
I'm going to be doing a lot of blood study. Going to need facilities to store the blood in, of course. After all, I have come to agree with the prognosis that the main contagion is blood-based. I'm pretty sure that that's where it lies. It seems it affects everything else, but I believe blood carries it and affects everything else somehow.
So, what are your priority targets for the research? What are you trying to find out?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see if we can tell the difference between the stages that we've currently classified.
Very good. Very good. So, separating a stage 1, he looks at Alice, from another, more further gone.
Correct. I
Specimen.
would like to see if there is something we can find that gives evidence of this. I'd also like to see if there are ways of them manipulating what actually is causing the symptoms themselves. There has to be something there. Has to be.
Very well. The differentiation and vulnerability studies, specifically the penetrated heart claim.
Yes,
that correct?
according to my notes, that can instantly kill a blankbody, which I find interesting because why the heart? Can you just shoot the heart? Would the result be the same? It's something I'd be interested in knowing because, quite frankly, we currently don't have anything that seems to help incapacitate or kill the subjects. I'd like to know. Obviously, we know the sunlight is instant, spontaneous combustion.
I'm quite positive that a shot to the heart doesn't apply in this case. When we shot Rupert, I am sure one of those must have gone into where supposedly the heart would be.
Well, we're going to need to test it, Paul, and also find out why. Is it simply a case of different metal? If you shot a wooden bullet, I know that's not very convenient, but does it still work? And why?
During this speculation, I look more and more uncomfortable, and after a while I just get up and just puts my hands in my pockets and start pacing. Not interrupting, just pacing a bit in the room.
Noticing this, I do just sort of remark, these are the stage 1 investigations, but obviously I want to make a lot of progress quite quickly into exactly how long a withdrawal period is needed at stage 1 before symptoms are purged. If there's something we can do to quicken that.
Good. And you said, Isaac, that you were bringing in a blank body?
We currently have
What?
materials from a second blank body, meaning vital fluids.
Right.
They will be handed over to you. There is a total amount now of close to 1 gallon. It will be in the lab before midnight. It should be on its way now.
My bad then, I misunderstood. Okay.
The suspect itself could take some paperwork to get hold of the specimen himself. I would need to liaison with my counterparts on the first light list.
Right. Good. Then we shall hope that will suffice to keep you at minimal discomfort, Alice.
Could I talk to Francis and Paul alone?
Sure. Isaac gets up. I think we just need to quickly cover 2 more manning jobs, Paul.
Yes,
and
sure.
then you can take it away. I need to be in London, I'm afraid.
Of course.
So, a provisional strike team, if you need to go, who goes? What armaments and so on. You will need that, unfortunately, I believe. Ops, of course, Paul and Ops. The restraining chambers will be manned by Shirley. Is that okay? You're the one who helped install it. He just nods gruffly and scratches a wound with a bandage on it on his neck. Yes, I'll keep a tight watch.
Yes.
We have restraining tools that should be able to restrain anything that does not exert more pressure than 1 ton per square inch. So that should hold most things, we believe.
Good. Do make sure that the security footage is constantly on these holding cells.
Of course.
They're going to need to be monitored at all times. We can't just rely on physical presence.
Yes, sir. Will be done. Shirley says, my guys, Lisa and Leonid, they will be in around midnight. They've been off in another debriefing since they saw some of the action last night and had to talk to some cops about it.
Interesting.
So they will be on site at midnight. So that is 2 more grunts to see it as you see fit. Yeah.
What size should a strike team be at this point? I suppose it depends on the find.
Anna just looks uncomfortable. The others, they look at each other like,
yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine, Paul.
Yeah, right. We'll have Shirley, Deco, Lisa, and Leonette as a possible ready strike team then.
Good. We'll make sure that there's equipment for the squad if it should be needed. May I request Alice be on the team? Shirley says.
Absolutely. Alice?
Sure.
I've seen you in action. We can need you.
Okay. I just need to talk to these guys first.
Sure. So, thanks. Umaledeko gets up. It's like, I get right onto my analysis tasks. I'm in my chambre séparée at 3:12. Okay? So just knock on the door if you need something.
Good. Alright, let's get to it. I say, and I watch people go in different directions.
Yeah, Anna comes up to you just shortly and shakes her hand and says, like, it's for real, this operation, you did it. It worked.
Yeah. It's a start.
It's more than a start. I've been around a while, Paul. You should be proud. She touches your hand a little bit too long, looks you up and down, and then exits with another look over her shoulder.
I have a brief flashback to when my interview took place and her initial friendliness that went over to a quite cold situation there after we had the final talk. But it's good to see that she's happy now, I guess, with how things are being run.
She's the last one out the door, closing the door to the briefing room. The briefing room is off to the side of the garage. Originally, this room was probably planned as some sort of office building for the garage security. There's one thick door out into the garage where most of the evidence is stored. From the garage there are also stairs leading down to a furnace and a cold room, meant for food storage probably.
All right.
You are alone in the room.
I watch Anna do her thing. A brief smile flashes over my face, a shadow, a memory of who Ellis used to be. Like, I could never pass over a chance to make fun of when women were flirting with Paul. But because it happened all the time. And he's so boringly monogamous, so it's ridiculous. So it's been a joke for many years, but I don't say anything. I just fold my arms again.
I sit down, put the crutch to the side, and look at the two of you. And I say, well then, here we are. Still here.
We need to talk about who knows about me. Because I'm not sure.
Who
and
knows?
it's making me paranoid.
Fair enough. Well, I'm pretty sure, to be honest, every single person in the unit is now aware of your condition. At least to an extent. We had a discussion with Isaac Khan, and we both vouched for you, so don't worry about that. That's the reason you are not being currently put away in a cell, because we believe you are still Gabrielle Ellis, and that we are going to help you with your condition.
Yeah.
And there are other people we can test for other things.
That's my next question. I look at you, Paul.
Sure.
Am I your colleague or am I your prisoner? And how are we gonna play this?
Yeah, believe me, this is not an easy question for me to answer, though I appreciate you turning to me for it. I would prefer that Ward got as much time as possible to determine how the virus could possibly be halted or even cured. With you, that is. We still don't know how it works with the blood and what made you receptive to what happened that day with Rupert. Not that we need to go over that again, but for that reason, I would prefer that you were close to this place.
Sure.
But I would like to hear your thoughts. I am not a dictator in this matter.
Of course not. It will take some time for me to get used to not being in charge. I hope you have patience with that.
Of course.
I wonder what happens if we find out that I'm stage 2. Will you shoot me with a wooden bullet? Would you burn me? What would you do?
What would you prefer?
Fuck. No, it's an honest question. If I'm stage 2, will you kill me?
I would not know, because even if you do turn out to be of a higher stage, your cooperation is going to be key in the bigger
So
picture.
a prisoner then. I see.
I want to believe in you, Alice. I want to believe that you still are you. This is causing trouble for you. I understand that. Lots of trouble. There's no denying it. But I would like to believe that you can still make decisions, and particularly so when you are being supplied with whatever it is you need. Isaac has a theory that small doses of the blankbody blood would help keep you focused. Because the way I saw you after what happened in the apartment with Michael, you were sharp, it was a huge difference. Before that, you were all over the place.
Yeah.
And obviously don't want you to go out hunting for people to attack like that, which I assume is the same. You are the same opinion. You're of the same opinion.
I look a bit ashamed. Yes, I suppose. Between you and me, us three here in this room, we go way back, and I will just say that if I am stage 2, I don't know. I would love to say that you should kill me, but I don't want to die again. And remember how hard it is to kill one of them. It's gonna be really hard to kill me, Paul. It's gonna be really hard to kill me, Francis.
Well, maybe when we learn a few more things it won't be. But again,
Jesus Christ!
not my
Francis,
desire.
you are a cold fucker, you know that?
I kind of chuckle a little, actually. I chuckle a little like, I have been called that before, yes. Seriously, I do not wish your death. If anything, you could be extremely important. Also, I feel, in regard to the prisoner aspect, to be honest with you, even if you weren't anything, if you were still completely unaffected by the disease, we're all going to become prisoners. You've heard the briefings. we can't exactly go home and just continue with our lives. We are at risk of being seen, discovered. The conspiracy apparently runs deep, and that means we are going to have to pretty much stay off the radar as much as we can. If we make too much of a splash, we could risk being infiltrated.
I know that. I also want to remind you that if I'm still me, all the blank bodies are still persons that used to be people, and when you talk about them as objects, you are dehumanizing them and you are dehumanizing me. And that is dangerous. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I have all these intense feelings, especially rage in me, that I'm trying to contain and I'm trying to control, but let's just hold off with the jokey jokes about killing these persons, okay?
Well,
Yes.
to be perfectly honest, I agree. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to, at this stage, completely justify to everyone that lethal force might not be required at times, and when it is required, we're going to need something, because otherwise we're at a massive disadvantage. Again, I feel individuals who wish to be cured, I want to help them, but individuals like this black dog seem to have gone way beyond that, Ellis. They were quite willing to blow people up, murder all of us, and by the sounds of your encounter with the Rupert individual, if we have nothing, then we have nothing.
I've been thinking about these things too, Alice, and the way I see it, it's a bit like the closest thing I can come to in my mind is like a group of people who are addicted, and they are being led by the addiction, and perhaps through an overarching organization where the leaders of the organization supply whatever it is the grunts on the lower level needs. If we could provide a better alternative and address this situation, then perhaps we can get a chance of curing them. And that is why I see it as a high priority that Ward gets time to work with you in the lab and whatever he can find out from you and your present condition.
Sure, he can stick all the needles in me. I also one last thing. If I'm stage 1 and the man that we took in also is stage 1, maybe I should talk to him.
I'm willing to...
You can listen in, but maybe that would be a way to get to him.
I was quite happy for that to happen. I'm not the master interrogator at the end of the day. I'm ready to supply some medical tests while he's interrogated, but yes, I was thinking either yourself or Paul will be the ones actually asking the questions.
Yeah, I would be happy for you to lead that interrogation.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's get to work then.
But I put my hand on the table. I want you to pay attention to your state. I want you to try and be very aware of when your mind starts to drift. Just in case, you feel that suddenly decisions are more difficult to make, and then we see if we need to get you a fix or whatever. Just practice self-awareness, basically.
Not to mention there can't be any more secrecy, Ellis. I'll be honest, the secrecy there was what came close to making us lose trust in you. You need to tell us everything you're thinking, everything you're feeling. We need to know. I'm not saying, obviously, your personal life is your personal life, but when it comes to this, we need to know. Because that's what they're going to try and use, I think. I think if you are going to be targeted, the angle they'll use is the angle of, we understand you. You can trust us, you can't trust them.
I got scared. Everybody was talking about how we should just maim and kill these creatures, these individuals, and if I'm one of them, it means that I'd always thought that I would go willingly, sacrifice myself, but when it push comes to shove, I guess I'm just a shitty human wanting to stay alive, I'm sorry for lying. I don't know. I could have acted so much differently. I know that.
You're not entirely wrong, Ellis. If we don't make good progress here, these sort of things do go badly. I'm not going to lie to you and say that there might not come some people in and take you away and they shoot me and Paul. I can't say that won't happen. I'm going to say I'm going to try and make it not happen. If you get my meaning.
Well, they'll have to fight through me first, that's for sure. So, right. You two, I suppose, will be heading to the lab to start setting up.
Yes.
Very good. Is there anything I can help you with at this point? And I look at you both.
I don't know about these things, but I think we should think about... Oh god, I can't believe I'm saying it. But feeding... It might not be enough. Small drops. I don't know how much I need of these things.
Well, that's called experimentation, Alice. We're going to have to find out, I'm afraid. But again, if you volunteer, I, to be perfectly honest, would rather use our suspect as the guinea pig. I'd rather give you a bit of dignity first.
It will have to be baby steps at this point, and that is also what I mean, that try to be aware of how this affects you, how long it takes. I would ask you to actually keep a log on this. A time log of when you consume the substance, your current state of mind, how long it takes for it to deteriorate, and so on and so on. Would that be...
And also the difference between their blood and humans.
Yes, though at this point Isaac is reluctant to provide us with human blood. Why, I cannot understand, because I would think it would be a much easier resource to come by. But yes, make all the notes that you can of remembering how the state was when you... with the incident with Michael. And then try to compare that to the other substance that we have at hand.
Because there is a difference, right, between the two types of blood. Yes.
There is. Yes. One... Michael was like a filling meal. Like something can last you a long time, a beer, a buzz, that is a good base for an evening. But the blank bodies that you've tasted, the blood from Rupert, his memories from the hospital, the bottle as well. All those felt like pure cocaine, or something similar. Different, all of them. One low buzzing boom, but no, they are more like hard drugs. So yeah, the difference is one in the concentration and the intensity of the reaction.
Well, we'll be making experimentation on all those things, Alice, so don't worry. It's going to be a bit boring, in fact, on your end. There'll be a lot of taking notes, blood pressure, eye dilation, heartbeat, correlation between information, that sort of thing.
Have you had breakfast today?
Me?
Yes.
No.
How is your taste for food?
None. Don't want it. Tastes like ash.
Really?
Yeah.
Out of interest, without being too gross, you have, over the last few days, eaten, though, haven't you? Normal food, at least at the start. Drunk, fluids, water.
Yes, you have. There's, you have snacked a little out of habit more than hunger. You haven't kept it down perfectly. You've had a bit of a runny stomach and so, but no, not. You have snacked and you have drunk water.
Has the cycle been usual? Have you had trouble going to the bathroom? I know it's a bit strange, but it needs to be known if the food and water are still maintaining their standard
It's
patterns.
hard to know that these couple of days have been so chaotic. I think we all are a bit queasy, but I don't long for it. I'm not hungry in that way. I'm hungry, but not in that way.
I suppose that will have to be experimentation as well, and I hope you will be willing to try what we can do. It is this very strange thing if it were that only blood, actual blood, was the only thing that you could consume and keep yourself going. It's also the fact, I'm not an expert on these things, but people who are on a drug, they lose appetite for normal food as well. Isn't that the case, Ward?
Yes, of course, but again, this is a contagion that we're still unsure of. It's possible there is something in it that is self-sustaining cells in a completely different way to what we are aware of. To be honest, though, Alice, with you, it's going to be a very simple start. I'm going to be giving you a full medical examination. I don't believe you've actually been properly looked at since the events at the hospital, and then they would have been focusing on saving your life and not really paying attention to any strange anomalies. But at least that's standard practice. So again, we're just going to be doing a bit of a full checkup and seeing exactly what is different about you now than the last medical checkup you had. When was your last medical checkup? Do you remember?
A while ago. But let's go. Let's do it then.
Well,
Let's get it over with.
yes. Yes.
Good. I will be with the data team for a while and see what we come across.
The lab is just partially set up. Still loads of equipment in boxes. Some of it packed up. There's blood gas analyzers, blood collection supplies, centrifuges, chemistry analyzers, coagulation analyzers. There's differential testing equipment, drug testing analyzers, electrolyte analyzers, hematology analyzing, histology, cytology equipment, immunoassay analyzers, incubators, LCMS solvents, microbiological systems, microplate readers, washers, all of them packed down, factory new.
Excellent. I'm also hoping there's a few x-rays, maybe.
There is an X-ray equipment. There's mixers, rotators, shakers, stirrers, disruptors, pipettes.
Excellent. It does, of course, at this point occur to me to make a mental note that I'm probably actually going to need at least another eyed or something, because doing all this testing by myself is going to take a lot of time, so I will make a note of that.
The question is, during this evening, it's around 7 o'clock now, you have time for, you've freshly slept, so you at least have time for 5-6 hours to get that in during the night. So how do you begin? It's just you and Alice in the empty white subterranean office space. No windows, doors leading outside towards the garage, and one door leading towards a kitchenette that borders on the cold storage room where the corpses and other biological remnants are held. There is a pack, or rather, there is a organ donor crate. It is marked that it contains 2 gallons of unseparated blood, 4 gallons of separated blood plasma. So yes, there is human blood available also.
Excellent. Well, I will keep to my word, and the first things we'll be doing is simply a standard but thorough medical examination. Blood tests, eye tests, quick x-ray, various reaction tests, a little bit of comparison after I've taken samples of blood with human blood, for example, and comparison. I will make sure I've got her official records that we probably would have, and just compare if there are any differences, variations, diet. I will even ask a few psychological questions, nothing too advanced, but just, stress, the sort of thing you ask people to make sure they're not having stress or headaches or that sort of thing. I imagine that probably takes a few hours.
You do have your work cut out for you by performing a thorough medical exam. You, Alice, you cooperate, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
I also think I would just, with Ellis's, knowledge, make sure someone's posted outside and that the whole area is being security covered by CCTV. Not that I don't trust Ellis, but I'll say, again, we just want to cover the bases, just in case you do something you are unsure of yourself.
I take off my leather jacket and roll up my sleeves and yep, let's go. Let's do this then.
And also, as I do it, while my bedside manner isn't very pleasant, I still treat you professionally, like I would a patient.
The numbers are, you scratch them down in your notebook, the blood pressure, the heart rate, all of these things. You start accumulating a body of knowledge around Gabriel Ellis' specific physiognomy. This investigation, this search for the unseeable, will be handled as an extended test, so I would like you to do a first medical plus intelligence roll.
Certainly. 3 successes.
And you're satisfied with that. That will cover about half of the night's work. So, say 4 hours of work is 1 roll. So this is the first 4-hour period. 3 is not, you're gonna get somewhere.
Good. Again, we start with the basics. We'll give it probably an hour or two before the first attempt to take a blood sample.
How is it with pulse and stuff?
You do have pulse. It's you are slightly hungrier today than you were yesterday. I would like you to roll straight dice. Yes, do you get 6 plus or not?
7.
That is good. You're not substantially more hungry, ravenous, or so than you were yesterday. But your heartbeat is clearly there. You still think of yourself as human, and apparently your body follows suit. There's nothing abnormal with the pulse, nor is there anything wrong with the blood pressure. In fact, it's slightly lower than in her files. Also, it seems that she has really good lung capacity. Slightly better than you would have expected from a smoker. Better than her last tests. Slightly, ever so slightly. It could all be racked up to having started exercising or stopped drinking or something like that.
I wish.
And then you start approaching the blood tests. But yeah, your physical is perfectly normal.
Well, that's a good sign to start with. I will be informing you of what I'm doing as we go. I will say things like, well, Alice, you're very physically fit at the moment, and your pulse, your heartbeat are all regular. Your blood pressure's a little lower than expected, but still good.
Yeah, doctor.
Still there.
I recently changed my diet, and maybe that's that. Also, some of the old banter is starting to come back. Maybe I am starting to feel a bit more relaxed and not on edge. It's apparent that the solo discussion that we had kind of helped.
Good. I do look at her medical records, though. Is there any history of, well, the classic, is there a history of various health issues or anything that's part of who she is that should still be there, that sort of thing?
Yes. There's some on record. She has been arrested for drunk driving at a couple of occasions, and then had blood alcohol tests and so on. In fact, there is seems to be she has never been perfectly cleared from intoxication during any of her tests. She's always had some minuscule 0.5 promille or more in her blood every single time.
Interesting.
So that should be interesting for the blood tests, which are coming up now.
Yes. To start with, we are going to just do those very simple blood tests where it's just a little prick on the finger. Just get a swab. Nothing too crazy to start with.
Yeah, I give you my finger. Watches you calmly.
You miss with the first needle, I think. Take another one. It's these small metal things that you just press against the finger and a little click. And there's supposed to be blood, but there isn't one. You break 3. And then you realize that you haven't really penetrated the skin.
Well, that's unusual.
You could be extremely unlucky.
Alright. Maybe we'll skip that part. Let's go for a proper needle then. And extract a full blood sample. Brace your arm.
From where in the body?
The arm, the left arm.
Yeah, I hold it out to you.
Also, just before I put the needle in, how are you feeling at present? Any sudden urge to not have someone stick a needle in your arm?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, let me know. And I shall, with a practiced squeeze, insert the needle into the arm and try to extract.
Okay, holy shit, you bend the needle. It's like you think you got purchase into the vein, but you slip and the needle bends.
I will go and get another one. A slightly, maybe heavier duty one.
Mm-hmm. There's the 2mm needles. There's 4mm needles. They are usually only used for animals.
And I will explain. I apologize, this might hurt a little, but your skin seems oddly resilient to piercing.
That's very strange. Yeah, try it. Just try it. Do what you have to do.
Yes, I will. I quickly make a few notes, and then yes, I will try this heavier duty needle.
It requires you to almost stab the needle in, like as if it were a dagger, into her arm, quickly, the way you would if you were, punching in an adrenaline needle through the breastbone into someone's heart. Conveniently, that is something you have trained for, and with that motion, you manage to get it in there. Yep, you're in the vein.
Good. Begin extraction.
I flinch when the needle goes in, but since he has done so many tries, I'm kind of anticipating the stab, but it's weird.
The blood is dark red. It's thick. It almost swims into the syringe. Its viscosity seems slightly lower than expected, but you do extract a hefty, a third of a deciliter of blood in the big horse needle. So you've got your sample.
Excellent. Good. I remove it and I go, well, that was slightly harder than expected, but now we have something. I'm going to... Right. I immediately go to deposit the sample in a couple of vials, as there's quite a lot of it. I'm going to want to do a few tests.
Francis is standing up with his back towards you, portioning out your blood into vials. The sting in the arm hurts a bit, and it's almost as if the hairs on your neck start rising a little bit. Heart beats a little bit faster. You have localized the blood supply crate. It's right there to the left.
Yeah.
You can't stop thinking about it.
I think I am on my feet before I actually think that I would do anything. Like sometimes it feels like my body is acting up without me thinking about it. So I take a step towards the crate. And I take another one.
Francis is absorbed by his work.
And I go to the crate.
You go to the crate?
Yes.
Yep, it's half open after Francis have checked the supplies. There's a plastic sealant around 3 bags of blood. They are sealed in 3s.
How does it feel? Can I smell it?
It's heavily protected by plastic and almost must be completely airtight, but still you can smell it. Yeah, mouth goes wet.
I let my fingers just touch the crate, and it feels a bit like I'm a bit distant in my mind. I'm like both extremely focused at the same time as I am not really there. The only thing I can think about is those bags, actually.
Do you try to pull away from the temptation even?
Yeah. Very reluctantly. I have told them I would cooperate, so I will try, but they don't know how this feels.
No, they don't. Can you give me a resolve plus composure?
Yes. One.
As you turn around, Francis, she has a bag of blood in her hand.
My nose twitches a little. I look up at some of the cameras. I look back to Ellis and I say, Ellis, you are on camera at the moment. If you need something, you need to tell me, and we can sort it. It doesn't look very good if you just start helping yourself, if that's what you're thinking of doing.
Yeah. Shit. Fuck. I'm sorry. I kind of shakes my head a bit and put the bag back. It's just distracting, you know?
Yeah, you managed to let go of it. It's hard, but you have promised.
It's also cold, right?
It's cold, it doesn't smell that good. It's there.
But it's other blood that is warm in this room, right?
Yes. Francis. That smells way better. There's something else, something deep, dark, dank and powerful in the air as well, but you're not sure where it comes from. Somewhere. Somewhere.
Francis, I think I take a step closer. In the same way as I took a step towards the crate, I take a step closer to Francis. I think you should let me take that blood bag, actually.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the chronicle No Man is an Island for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Our storyteller was Martin Ericsson, and we were also joined by Anna-Karin Linder. The music was created by Lola Zaza for the game Vampire Prelude, We Eat Blood and All Our Friends Are Dead, and was used with permission from White Wolf. The sound effects are from the fine folks at freesound.org. Finally, a big thank you to our patrons. This podcast would not be possible without your generous support on Patreon. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And remember, death is not the end.